Quote, unquote, a look back over 21 years of the Quotations quiz. The highlights are chosen and introduced by the deviser and presenter of the programme, Nigel Rees.
Hello. When people ask me how it is that quote-unquote has lasted so long, I usually give them two reasons. One, because not having a regular panel, we've been able to range far and wide for our participants. Two, because we have interpreted the word quotation very broadly indeed. We don't just examine the big quotations from the Bible, Shakespeare and Kipling. We also ferret about all over the place among the informal sayings of everyday life. But of course, at the heart of the programme are the quotations, acting as a springboard for whatever the panellists can make of them. Listen now as taking them on are Alan Bennett, Winford Vaughan Thomas, Richard Ingrams, Janet Sussman, John Mortimer, Peter Cook, Arthur Marshall, and...
Kenneth Williams, a very famous riposte for you. What is the Duke of Wellington reputed to have replied when a publisher tried to blackmail him like this?
My Lord Duke, in Harriet Wilson's memoirs, which I am about to publish, are various anecdotes of your grace which it would be most desirable to withhold. I have stopped the press for the moment.
Publishing be damned.
Quite so. He scrawled it across the publisher's letter in red ink. There's no more to be said.
It's not as good as what he said when that man rushed out from outside Apsley House and said, "Mr. Smith, I believe." And he said, "If you believe that, you'll believe anything." That's the one I love right here.
My own motto is publish and be sued.
Winford Vaughan Thomas, these are the actual last words of a real person in a certain situation, but they weren't actually his dying words. Who was he?
I should desire that the last words which I should pronounce in this academy and from this place might be the name of Michelangelo.
Oh, it's obviously somebody very noble. Could it be the first? It must be the 18th century. It's got a great ring about it, isn't it? Mm. Yes. It's like Sir Joshua Reynolds about to make his last public announcement before departure.
You always offer your answers so modestly, and it is quite correct.
But I edge towards them. I'm afraid to be too bold in case I'm wrong.
It was Sir Joshua Reynolds, who was the first president of the Royal Academy, and these were the last words of his last discourse, but in fact he lived for another 2 years. He died in 1792.
Well, he didn't beat my grandfather's last words. He was a bit of an old rebel, but finally he led the Rebecca riots in Pontardalis, but finally he had to conform and live with the chapel. And as he lay dying, the old rebel's eyes flashed, and the minister arrived and said, "Mr. Lewis, you're going to see your Maker face to face." He said, "Can you assure me of that?" He said, "Mr. Lewis, if ever a man is going to see his Maker face to face, you were that man." And gathering his last breath, my grandfather said, "Well, in that case, there are one or two pertinent questions I'm going to put to him."
Can I offer an overheard remark about Michelangelo? It was two ladies behind me. One of them said, who was it that painted that Sistine Chapel ceiling? I don't know. It wasn't Underwoods of Bramley, was it?
Janet Sussman, the last words of a piece of fiction for you. What piece of fiction?
Good God, people don't do such things.
Oh, Lord. I'm afraid I know it immediately, isn't it?
Well, no.
It's Hedda Gabler, and it's Judge Brack, who can't believe that she's killed it. Can I tell you a funny story that actually happened to me? It was horrible. I was on tour with that play, with Hedda Gabler, and we were in the Leeds Grand, which is a huge theatre, but they didn't have a piano. And, at the end of the play, Hedda disappears behind a curtain into her inner room and plays the piano wildly and fantastically, and then a little later shoots herself and dies. And they didn't have a piano at Leeds, so they had a recording of my piano music. And I disappeared behind the curtain, and the cue came for this wild tarantella to break forth and for the play to draw to its wonderful conclusion. And the moment came, and I heard a little whirring sound and a voice.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?